Mock Draft Mayhem right now on FFT Express. All right, what's up, everyone? Adam Aizer here with Dave Richards. So we just talked to Chris Trapasso for an hour on our main show, and he's got a 7-round mock draft, and we're going to react to it here. So we're going to talk about the Cleveland Browns, their first 2 picks, Travis Hunter with the 2nd overall pick, and then Jackson Dart in the 2nd round. So, Dave, my question to you is, if the Browns take Travis Hunter and they make him a full-time wide receiver, that would make him worthy of a blank pick, and Jackson Dart would be on the team as well.
And Dart would probably end up being his quarterback for the majority of his rookie year, because beating out Kenny Pickett shouldn't be that hard for Dart to do. I wouldn't want Dart on my fantasy team unless it's a super flex. And I would want Travis Hunter if he's going to be a full-time receiver for the Browns, which makes sense. They've got good corners. Then he's going to lead that team in targets. He's really the best athlete in this draft, and therefore the best wide receiver in this draft. He'd get drafted as a number 3 wide receiver, kind of a low end one. Let's call it late round 5, early round 6, somewhere in that range.
So what's the difference between Travis Hunter on the Browns as a full-time wide receiver? Now, first of all, I do feel like any team that drafts him might use him both ways. So I don't know if he'd be a full-time wide receiver. I don't know that he's going to play 100% or 95% of the offensive snaps. But if he plays wide receiver on the Browns in 2025, what's the difference between that and Malik Neighbors playing wide receiver on the Giants in 2024 and being basically a top 10 wide receiver when he was healthy?
Sure. There's definitely that type of upside there for Hunter. And if that buzz builds, and if we learn in training camp that all he's doing is working out with the wide receivers in those summer months, then that would tell me that he's got a shot to really get a lot of targets. Does he get as many as Malik Neighbors had? Neighbors had an insane amount of targets last year. I don't know if he would get that in Cleveland. So I would hold back a little bit. Remember, you were the one who was all over Neighbors from the jump. It took me I'll only speak for myself. It took me a while to move Neighbors up and up. And then I finally saw what you saw. And every report out of training camp was he's making amazing plays. And that's when I figured that Malik Neighbors was going to be worth the early round draft capital. Same exact thing could happen here with Hunter in Cleveland.
Yeah, Hunter, I don't know that I've done a full evaluation on him because I thought he was going to be a cornerback, but I'm not so sure anymore. He's tremendous. I don't think he's Neighbors good, though.
No, but remember, it's hard to be Neighbors good. Like, that guy was just such a supreme talent with unreal acceleration, and Hunter, I hate using the term a step slower with Hunter because Hunter's really fast too. He could make a major impact. Let's just put it that way. Would it really surprise you if Hunter ended up as a top 15 receiver by the time that the 2025 season's done in fantasy because of the volume that he would get? No, that wouldn't surprise me. But it also wouldn't surprise me if, halfway through the year, he starts playing a little bit more cornerback, or, the Browns run game gets developed all over again, and the target volume just isn't quite the same. So you kind of couch it with that, pick around 60th overall.
All right, next mock draft mayhem question. Justin Fields would be benched by week blank if the Jets draft Shedeur Sanders, and blank would be the earliest you draft Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson would move up for me if Shedeur's there. That's a guy who is mobile but tries to throw first. So he's kind of the opposite of Justin Fields in that regard. When there's pressure, Justin Fields is off to the races. Shedeur Sanders would try and make a throw downfield. That would obviously be good for Garrett Wilson. Wilson would be maybe he'd move into late round 3. And I would think that Sanders would play quarterback the majority of the year for the Jets if that were to happen. So Fields will get benched by week 6, kind of the same thing that happened last year.
All right, we're going to take a break here, and when we come back, we'll talk about the Raiders drafting Tetairoa McMillan after this on FFT Express. Okay, welcome back here on Fantasy Football Today Express. If the Raiders draft Tetairoa McMillan, wide receiver out of Arizona, you would draft him before veterans like blank and blank.
I like this game, by the way. This is fun.
Yeah. The Schaefer's game.
Thinking about, in that case, I hate it. Thinking about how DK Metcalf did with Geno the last 2 years. I know that DK got off to a great start. I want to say it was just over 15 PPR points per game last year, before he got hurt. And then he ended up averaging much lower. It was like around 13. But the year before, he was around 14 PPR points. It wouldn't surprise me if McMillan landed in that type of range. So maybe not quite a wide receiver 3 on draft day, but could end up as certainly a wide receiver 3. I would take him ahead of, I'm not high on Zay Flowers, not high on Jalen Waddle, the Niners receivers, Jacoby Myers. He'd be better than Jacoby Myers. So he'd be in that range of receivers in like, let's call it 35 to 45.
So would you take Tet McMillan on the Raiders or Travis Hunter on the Browns?
Hunter on the Browns, I think, would be where I'd go.
Okay, Colston Loveland going to the Broncos gives him tight end blank upside in fantasy.
Not maybe low end tight end one, maybe like the 11th or 12th best tight end in full PPR. That's as a rookie. In time, I would imagine that he would get opportunities to be featured a little bit more in this offense. And with Bo Nix under center, I think that would be good for Loveland. Certainly, he'd be in a familiar spot where he's not getting asked to, run far downfield and make plays that way. But he's got a yak issue, and that's obviously something that could eat into what his upside would be in fantasy. So he'd probably be one of these, middling tight ends where when you start him, you hope that he either gets 5 for 60 or he catches a touchdown and 3 passes along the way. So in that 9 to 11 PPR point range, that's a low end tight end one.
All right, so how about Matthew Golden? Chris has Matthew Golden, wide receiver out of Texas, going 16th overall to the Cardinals. If Matthew Golden goes to the Cardinals, Marvin Harrison becomes a round blank pick.
Yeah, that would hurt Marvin Harrison. There's no question about it. And I've already got Harrison ranked outside of the top 24, so he would stay there. Golden's going to be another guy that we're going to have to really keep close tabs on in training camp, because the best of his game came late in his college career, but it was really good. And so if he can translate that into the NFL and he's just a late bloomer who just keeps the momentum rolling in the pros, then, I mean, I don't know if he could end up being better than Marvin Harrison, but certainly somebody who can make splashier plays and take the top off at defense. He would probably be, I'd move Marvin maybe closer to 30 than 24. And Golden would probably be kind of in that same range that I talked about with Tet McMillan, probably behind Tet McMillan in full PPR.
But is that behind Marvin Harrison? It would be.
Oh, yeah. That's definitely behind Marvin Harrison.
Okay.
I like 15 spots at receiver.
Okay. That's Dave Richard. I'm Adam Aizer. Please check out Chris Trapasso's 7-round mock draft. Wow, what a degenerate. Right? That's crazy. And he's going to be on our show on Thursday talking wide receiver.
Degenerate's going to be on our show.
Yeah, I know, right?
Listen to this knucklehead.
Thanks for watching and listening, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow on FFT Express.